Hi dear friends, it's Stefan from Codewalk Empire. Today you're going to learn how to implement the basic SEO and metadata to your Next.js website using latest app router. For this tutorial I'm going to use a blog which I built in my previous video, so if you're interested in that, make sure to check that out. Link will be in the description. Now here are the topics which we'll cover. You're going to learn how to add a global SEO setup, which is through a layout metadata. We are going to cover metadata for individual pages, so server and client side. We are going to learn how to extend the metadata from layout to single pages, then how to generate metadata for dynamic pages. Of course, about Open Graph protocol and how to add an Open Graph image to your website, how to add a sitemap, and how to add robots. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so this is my website and it has 4 pages of total. So this is the main page where I fetch all the blog posts from Sanity CMS. Then the second page is basically a single page where I get all the data from the specific blog post. The third page, it's a tag page where I have all the blog posts per specific tag. And the fourth page is the tags page where I get all my tags from my Sanity CMS. So let me back here to this main page, and if you open up a console and here in head tag, you're going to see that we already have a title with a description tag, which is obvious. Yeah. So let's go back to our code. And as you can see in our layout, when you create a new Next application, in your layout, you're going to have this metadata object. So what is the title? Well, the title tag is one of the most important SEO elements for 2 main reasons. Firstly, it's what users see when they click to enter your website from search results. And secondly, it's one of the main elements Google uses to understand what your page is about. So basically using the keywords in title, it's recommended because it can lead to increased or improved ranking positions in search engines. So let me go back here. And let's search, for example, my favorite YouTube guy, Traversy Media. So as you can see here, this would be the title of the page. So it's what users see when they click to enter your website from search results. And then the second tag we mentioned is this over there. So that's a description meta tag. And it's another important SEO element, but less so than the title. So according to Google, this element is not taken into account for ranking purposes, but definitely it can affect your click-through rate on search results. So let's go back to our code. And as you can see, this is description. Now we are going to remove this. And let's say this is a dev blog, name of our application. And we are going to add some keywords like blog for developers. Yep, I think this is good. Over there in the description, let's say something like a blog for developers by developers. Something like that. All right. Now, these are the main basic meta tags. Besides that, we are going to add an Open Graph tag like object. So what is an Open Graph? Well, Open Graph is a protocol originally developed by Facebook, which standardizes how metadata is used on any given web page. So that's basically a protocol that helps fit together relevant data to create a representation of the site it's attached to. So basically how your site is shown when it's shared as a link. And for example, I'm going to go to social share preview website. Which will help us if we add the link. It will show us how our website is shown when we share it on social media. So let me open up. Yeah, let's say not now. All right. So this is my website. I'm going to use this link and let's say check. So now as you can see, this is how my website looks when I share it on social media. So Open Graph protocol can help us with this. So as you can see, we need to use OG title OG description and OG image, basic ones. So let me go back to our code and let's say first things first, I want to add OG title. So this is what you can see here in card. And for me, it's perfectly fine now to just copy this. So let's copy it. Then I want to add OG description, which is this. That's perfectly fine. I can add type. This is a website, obviously. I can add a local, so writing in English, so here in the US. And of course, URL of our website. Now let me just open this, and this is a published version of my website, so I'm going to use this link. Let me go back here and I'm going to paste it over there. Now, I would recommend to store this URL into env because in production you would use different environments. So for example, development stage and production. So that URL should be definitely stored in env. But I think this is fine for now, since this is only for educational purposes now. All right, besides that, we can add a site name tag, and our site is called, let's say, dev blog. All right, perfect. So this is fine for now. Later on, I'm going to show you how you can add an open graph image. But let me go back here, and if I go here in elements in head, you can see now that we have a new title, new description, OG description, OG title, OG URL, site name, and so on and so on. So this is perfect for now. If I go back now here to tags page, as you can see, you are going to see the same thing here. So let me go back to our code, go to tag and visit this page. Now here, what I can do is add export const metadata. Since I'm using TypeScript, I'm going to import this type from Next. And here I can add also title. In this case, this is going to be a tags page. And description, I want to say something like search for posts by tags on the blog, something like that. All right, now if we save it here, as you can see, we already changed the title of this page. And of course, here you can see, let me just go here. Yep, search for posts in this blog. Perfect. So now, in this case, this is fine. And I don't want to add Open Graph tags here, which means we are going to use Open Graph from layout. Now, let's say we want to change this title to be, let's go back here. Let's copy this title here. And we want our page to have, so this, and then this. As I mentioned to you, we want in our title, because of the SEO reasons, to have some keywords, some longer title, and so on. So if I save, this looks good. And now I want, let's say you have a couple of pages, tens of pages, something like that, and you want to do this for every page. So as you can see, this is a repetitive thing to do in that case. So what we can do, we can go back to our layout and update this title. So I'm going to comment this out, and I'm going to show you how you can also add a title here. So title, like object, and here we can set the default value. And the default value is going to be this. And why are we setting the default value? Well, because we can create a template. And how we can create a template? Well, that's in Next.js, you can use a %sign with S, and then here we can add this repetitive thing. Now, if I save it here and I go back here to my page, you will see, yeah, tags, this, and again this. So let me go back to code, and now I can completely remove this part. So now for every page, the title is built like this template here. Let me go back. Perfect. This is great. Now, before moving to these tags, I'm going to my layout. Now here, I'm going to add a metadata base. And metadata base is a URL, so new URL. And here we need to pass URL of our website. Again, this should be in your env, but for now it's fine. So what does this do? Well, this sets the base URL for the website. And then it is used to resolve relative URLs in the metadata. So for example, your OG image is like stored here. Now, when you want to use this image in your metadata, you don't need to write this part of URL. So that's basically it. All right, now let's go to our tags page here. And let's say you have this convention here with the templates, but it's fine for every pages except this one. So how you can overwrite this default behavior? Well, you can also add title here as an object. So title, and you can add absolute property and say only tags. So if we go back here, you will see that this default behavior with the templates is overwritten by this. So if you want to use it, you can use it. I don't want to use it, so I will comment this out. And yep, perfect. Now, how to add an Open Graph image? Let's first jump to Next.js documentation. And here you can see we have two basic ways how to do it. So the same applies and also for the Twitter image. I'm going to focus on Open Graph image. Well, first way is basically just creating an image file with this extension. And the second way is to use code to create Open Graph image. The second example is out of the scope of this tutorial, but it's pretty straightforward. So you can follow up this documentation and you can do it easily. Now I'm going to focus on this first way. And as you can see, all we have to do is to create a file, to have an image with this file name, opengraph/image, with certain extension, JPEG, PNG, and so on. And what Next is doing for us in the background is, based on this image, is creating these meta tags. So let me go back here. First, I have that image on my desktop here. So this is my Open Graph image. So as you can see, I have this naming convention. Let me just go back here to social share preview. And if you click here, you will see that this is the recommended ratio for your image. And optimal size would be 1200 by 630. Let me just get info of this image. This is the size. All right. Now, all we have to do is go to our code, and in our app directory here, we only need to drag and drop this image. So here in our app, and that's all. That's all we have to do, and Next does the magic for us. Now let me go back here. Now, if I copy this localhost URL here, it won't work because it is localhost, but we'll check this out when we publish changes to our live version of the website. As you can see currently here, if I paste this, you will see that we don't have this image. Now, how we can see if this is working? Let me go back here. Down there, we should have OG image. Let me just reload the page. Check here first. Yep, Open Graph image, reload the page. Now go here to head and yep, here you can see that we have our OG image set. So this will be our real URL / and then this. All right, I think this is good for now, and we can finally move on to dynamic pages. So here. Now let's go back to our code and let me first go here to tags and slug page for the tags. So this is the one. All right. Now what we have here? Well, we have, as you can see, the server-side rendered page. And what I can do, well, let's go below here and I can do the same. Metadata, and it's an object and it has a title, let's say, blog post, let's say something like that. And as you can see, we have it. Sorry, this is not a blog, this is a tag, single tag page, let's say, single tag page. And we have it here. But I don't want to do that. This should be dynamic tag here. All right, and how we can do it? Well, let me first remove it. Since this is a server-side page, we have access to a params prop here in our page. As you can see, params contains a slug. So that's it. This is a slug here. All right, let me go back here. And with the new next version, we have a new function, which is an async function, which is called generate metadata. The naming is important here, so make sure to write it like here. All right, so generate metadata has access also to params here. Let me just add a type. This is the one, params. So this function returns an object, and that object is basically a metadata, and we can write whatever we want inside of it. So first, let's return a title. The title will be something like, let's say this is a tag, and here we want to have params dot slug. Then in the description we want to have like something like posts with the tag, and we can use again params dot slug. So this. Now I can use here, I will copy this open graph and I will paste it here and just update it. So title would be the same and description would be the same. All right, type is website, okay. I don't need to write it, but it's fine like this. And for the URL, I'm going to use a backticks here. And here we'll have a params dot slug. All right, if we save now, you will see that here we have this, what we wrote. So this is JavaScript with a design, and inside you will see meta content, fine, description, post with tag JavaScript, and so on and so on. So nice, this is perfect. Now let's do the same thing, but for our single blog post page. Now here, things will be a bit more complicated because we want here to have, instead of this, we want to have a title of the page. We want to have this excerpt, so this basic text here to be as a description. Maybe even a separate image. If blog post has an image, maybe we can use this image as an open graph image for this single post and so on. So let's go back to our code. We don't need this. We need posts slug page. Now below here we can write function, which is async function, which is called generate metadata, of course, and this will receive a params, and this returns a promise, so I can do that. So let's say promise and metadata, or undefined. Let's do things correctly since we're using TypeScript. So this needs to return also object. But what do we need to return in this object? Well, we need to return a metadata which contains the data from our blog post. So from this single get post. And how we can achieve that? Well, very simple. We can say that post is equal to what? Well, to this. We can just copy and paste this line of code. And first, if we don't have a post, so this we just want to return. So we don't want to do anything. But if we have this post, we want to create a metadata object based on that information. So let's say title, it is equal to post.title. Nice. Description is equal to post.excerpt. Let me just go here. This is a type of post, so you can see what we have. We have a title, we have a slug, date, excerpt, a short description of our post, tags, and so on and so on. So here I can now create an open graph object. Open graph will have the same thing for OG title and OG description. Type would be article, perfect. Local, also en US. URL, we'll need to build this URL, so I'm going to use, let me just go back here. Well, basically the same. This is fine. So we have slug from our params. That's perfect. And I can use also site name, dev block. All right, I think this is fine. Now, if we save it and go back here, nice. As you can see, title of this page is this one. And then, because we're using templates, name of our website. For the description, we have this content here. OG title is here, OG description is here, site name, locals, type, so on and so on. Perfect. This is perfect. All right, let me check another one. So let's go here, click here. Yep, this is fine. Let me go here and here. Perfect. I think this works great. Now, let's say we want to add a different OG image for this kind of blog post. As you can see, not every blog post here has an image. So I'm going to find a blog post with image. So let's say this one. Let me go back to our code and how we can add the dynamically image. Well, here we can add an images prop, and that's an array. Sorry, that's an array of images. So this array is an array of objects. Inside object, we have a URL. And here we would pass dynamic URL for our image. So let's say in our CMS, in our Sanity, we have a separate field which is called an open graph image. Then you would use that field here. So in ideal case, that would be post.image, something like that. But in my case, I don't have it. So I will comment this out and I will show you how you can use your Sanity. So this is a Sanity related thing, how you can check your document, Sanity document, to basically a body of your post and check if you have an image. And if you have image, you can use that image as an open graph image. So let me go back here and say URL. Now I need, yes, here. This is a URL builder for Sanity, as you can see. This is how we build image for Sanity. So I will just use it here. So URL for image. And here we need to pass an image. And how we can do it in Sanity? Well, we have this post dot body. So body is this. Now we can search this body. So we have a method called find. All right. So let's say this is type any, okay. But what we need here? Well, we need b.type. Again, this is a Sanity thing. Don't get confused. If you do not use Sanity, it's perfectly fine. But for those of you who use it, you know that the body has type inside. Objects with a type. Okay, and what type we need? Well, we need a type image. Okay, now here we can attach a width and be sure that is converted to 1200 and the height converted to 630. Again, this is a sanity thing, so don't worry if you don't get it at this moment. And finally, we need to resolve it to URL. I think this is good. Also, this URL, this image object, receives a width, so we can say it is width and height 1200 by 630. Okay, so here we are trying to find an image in our body and use sanity functions to set it to this specific width and height. And this width and height is basically SEO thing. Let me just go back here. So it will generate these tags here. All right. Now, I think this is fine. Let me just save it. Let's reload our page. And if I go back here, I should now see our image. Yep. So as you can see, content, this is OG image, content, CDN sanity images. Let me just copy this link, open it up here. And as you can see, you will see this image with this resolution. So that's perfect. Now, please make sure that you have, if you're using this, make sure that every post has an image, because if you go to another post that does not have this image, it will break. So you will need to ensure that you have a default image. All right, let me get back to this, and I will also comment this out. This will be on my GitHub repo, so no worries. All right, I think we are good here, and let's go and create a sitemap for our website. Now, I won't go into details because I guess you all know what sitemap stands for. But in general, sitemap is a special file that matches certain XML format to help search engine crawlers index your site more efficiently. So in case you have a small website, smaller application, you can basically create a sitemap.xml file and place it in your app directory, and it would look like something like this. So this URL, then this location, unless modified, and other tags. In our case, we're going to use only these two tags and basically create for every page you have. But in our case, we potentially could have hundreds of pages because we have dynamic data, so different blog posts and so on. So we need to generate a sitemap. And how we can do it? Well, let's go to our code. I will close this up, and in our app directory, I'm going to create a new file called sitemap.ts. Now I'm going to create a new function, basically export default async function, which is called sitemap. Simple as that. This returns a promise, and for the type we have metadata route dot sitemap. Perfect. So this function will eventually return us an array of objects. So every object will have URL, and this should be URL of page, and we'll add this last modified, as you can see. We can add, of course, these tags, but we don't need it currently. So for URL, again, I'm going to use my URL, but the best practice here is to put it in env. So let me just paste it here. This is our main page, last modify. I will just use new date function here. All right. Second page, static page basically, is this tags page. So I'll copy this. I'll go back here. create another object, same stuff, URL. Last modified, again, I will use new date here. All right, and this is fine. But what's the issue here? Well, the issue we have is that we have, for example, this. This is a dynamic page. You can have different tags. Also, we have this dynamic page for blog posts. So what we can do here, we can here create a function. So basically we can call our function for get all posts, and that function, I'm going to use it. This function is used in my main page. So let me go here to the client page. So this is, so this is my home page. And as you can see, I have this async function, which is querying Sanity CMS and returning me a data. I will just copy it. I'll go here and paste it. Now, of course, I need to import this client from Sanity for actually being able to fetch the data, and I will return this data here. Now I can go back here and of course use this. So this is a function for basically calling this get posts and returning posts here. I will just import this interface. Perfect. So what can I do here now? Well, I need to create new variable called post URLs, let's say, and we can then map through our posts. So post, and create a new object. And that object will be like this. So URL, nope, I don't need this. So URL will be equal to, well, again, I'm going to use this base URL. And here I know that my posts have post.slug.current. Let me just go back here. As you can see, slug is this. And last modified, we can use new date, but inside we can add post.publishThat, let's say. Perfect. And then of course at the end we can just add our post URL array of objects, and voila, that's it. Now you may be wondering, all right, this is fine, but here we are using this function get posts. Then again, we're using the same function here, and we are fetching it constantly. We are doing the same stuff here when we are generating metadata in our post, and also when we are getting it here down in the page. Well, fortunately, we are using Next.js. And in Next, it is okay to use fetch again for getting posts, since when we use fetch API in Next, it automatically caches the data. All right. Let me just open a link for you. So this is the one. So basically what we do when we first trigger certain endpoint, for example, this one, Next automatically caches the data for us. So whenever later in our application we are using the same endpoint, so here, for example, it will give us back the data which is cached. So that's great. Here, as you can see, there are two exceptions of this rule. So when you use the fetch API inside server actions or inside route handlers that uses post method. Important thing here, this only applies when you use this fetch API. If you're using some third-party library, let's say Axios, you won't be able to do it. So you would need to do this caching thing manually. But this is out of the scope of this tutorial. All right, now you may be wondering, okay, this is fine, but we're here using client.fetch query. So this is a method from Sanity CMS. And fortunately, they are also utilizing native fetch API. So as you can see here in their own repo, they are saying it here that this toolkit completely supports Next.js fetch. So this is great. And you don't need to worry about wasting resources. All right, now one more thing. What we need to do is to create robots file. And how we can do it? Well, same as our sitemap. So we can create a new file called robots.ts. And here, similar approach, we're going to export a function default. This is not an async, it is a function called robots, and it returns a metadata route.robots. Yep, perfect. And this returns us an object where we can set certain roles. So let me just go back here quickly. Next.js robots. Here, as you can see, same thing as on sitemap. We can create static robots.txt file and here add these things. So user agents, allowed routes and disallowed routes. But I'm going to utilize this next feature so we can create basically a file .ts or .js and inside add these roles. All I can do is copy this. Great, let's go back to our code and paste it over there. First thing, I'm going to copy this URL from here and paste it over there. Over there. Yep, we did not. Let me go back to our website here. And if I go to sitemap.xml, you will see that is working perfectly. So this is main page, tag page, and these are the dynamic pages. Great. Okay, let's go back to our code. And here, user agent, this basically with asterisk signed applies to all the search engines. We could use here Google bot, I think, and that applies only to Google specifically. Targets Google specifically, right? I don't want to do that. I want to target all search engines. So this is fine. For allow, these are allowed routes. So what are the robots? Well, basically this file tells the search engine crawlers which URLs they can access on your website. So everything can be accessed except the routes that go here in this allow. In our case, what we want to disallow, we don't want our search engines to crawl our studio since this is our CMS. So let's say studio. And that's it. Everything else should be accessed by search engines. All right, I think this is fine. So one more thing, we need now to publish our website in order to see if everything is working well in regarding of OpenGraph. So let me just commit everything here. All right, friends, new changes are committed and deployed, and now we can go to our site. Let's reload it and go back to social share preview and check again for our website. As you can see, we have OG title, we have OG description, we have also OG image with the recommended ratio, optimal size image, and so on and so on. We can see how it's rendered on Twitter, LinkedIn, and yep, I think this is great. So thank you for watching and see you again in another video. Bye bye.